Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is the Our Turf Football Podcast. I am Dayna. I am joined by Sonja and our darling Michelle Jinx. We can see you trying to join, and I know that you're having a little bit of trouble there. So hopefully we'll be able to get her on here in just a second. Oh, she can hear us. She says, Michelle, make sure you're on Google Chrome. Okay, so I think that's maybe what it is. But okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. One more little thing since Michelle can hear us. Michelle, it says you need to connect your camera and your microphone. All right. So anyway, that's what it says. Okay. We are.
It wouldn't be us without technical difficulties.
You know, it's just how we roll, right? For sure. All right, everyone. Well, this is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, the big old Thanksgiving games. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that Sonja was here. I wanted to make sure that Michelle was here. Hopefully she'll be able to figure that out and join us because they are Lions and Cowboys people. And those are so much fun. That's a great tradition in the NFL for Thanksgiving. So I'm super excited about that. However, before we get started, we have some other things we're going to talk about too. Not just Thanksgiving games, but let's go ahead and we want to, of course, thank our sponsor, Donkey's Place Cheesesteaks out of New Jersey. They have 3 locations in New Jersey, Camden, Mount Holly, and Medford. But you don't have to live in New Jersey to enjoy a delicious Donkey's Place cheesesteak. You can go to goldbelly.com and look up Donkey's Place and it pops right up. And you can have it sent directly to your house. It is wonderful. It's delicious. It gets there overnight, and it is just so much fun. But in even better news, for those of you in the New Jersey area, especially the Camden, New Jersey area, Donkey's Place is actually going to be open on Thanksgiving. So you want to go out and get a delicious lunch on Thanksgiving because maybe you don't feel like turkey or whatever other reason. Lots of people go out to dinner now on Thanksgiving, which is interesting. Donkey's Place in Camden, their Camden location only, will be open from 7 to 2. So make sure you go check them out if you can. And if not, stop in on Black Friday for sure. All right, everybody. So, Michelle, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yay, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
That's great.
I'll take
We're getting somewhere.
Yes.
We're getting there. Maybe we'll be able to get our camera connected. That would be amazing. Well, welcome, you guys. This is our dear friend, Michelle Jinx. I know you can't see her. You hopefully will be able to see her soon. We've seen her on here a million times. I'm so thrilled to have you join us. Michelle, how's your day?
It's been long.
Oh no, we just lost her again. Oh,
Crazy.
stink. All right, hopefully we'll be able to get that figured out. So, okay, so let's go ahead and get started on our non-Thanksgiving game topics. You said you wanted to talk about the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears were interesting this weekend.
Yeah, they were.
I thought it was. I was wondering if they would ever bring Justin Fields back. Right. I was curious if that would actually happen, or if they would use his injury as an excuse to keep him off the field. Brought him back. Didn't play so bad. They actually were ahead for quite a while. They got those sneaky little Lions came in there and got him. But Michelle, this is an interesting franchise in a whole bunch of flux.
They are a very interesting franchise in flux right now. I know what you meant. It's okay.
So I'm looking at Michelle's name. I'm so sorry. Anyway, yes, Sonja, go ahead.
No, I mean, they are. And I think that this was kind of a statement game from Justin Fields, to be quite honest, as there had been, a lot of chitter chat about, is he the guy? Is he the one? They're switching out for their during his injury, Mr. Baggert or whatever his name is. I can't remember. But, and is he going to be the next one? And he played like crap too. But I think this game was Justin's way of saying, don't count me out yet. I'm still probably your best option at quarterback right now. Now, does that mean that there aren't things that they need to work on? There are. He really, he led in rushing yards. And again, while it's great, you don't want your quarterback leading your team in rushing yards.
No, that never ends well.
Literally lead the team, right? So, I mean, there's a lot that they need to work on, but I think this was at least a game where Justin was able to say, hey, it ain't all me. I'm back, and I still, can deliver for this team. That was my thoughts.
The interesting thing about Justin Fields is that he is one of those quarterbacks, I think, that causes people to be divided on it, that they cause people to be like, oh yeah, he's great, or oh no, or he's got bad coaching, whatever it may be, because of his running ability, a lot like Lamar Jackson saw for years, and is he a quarterback? Is he a running back? All that crap. And so I think that's one of the things about Justin Fields. What's interesting to me is that I really expected the Bears to bail on him, and they didn't. And so there must be something there. Then you go and look at this game that he had. Look at who I just found. Look at that. Everyone, this is Michelle. Michelle, we're talking about Chicago Bears. All right. So you look at Justin Fields' stats. Obviously, in this game against the Lions, 69% completion, 169 yards with a touchdown, 105 rating. I mean, this isn't someone that you just ignore, right? Like, this is a player that seems to be able to put it together. It seems to be the rest of that team that really struggles. What was interesting to me, and Sonja, did you watch this game? Like, I assume because it was the Lions game. Yeah. What's interesting to me is that when one piece of the Chicago Bears is working, it seems like the rest of the pieces can't work. They can't make it mesh. It's so frustrating.
It has to be frustrating for that team. I mean, their defense actually was playing lights out, to be quite honest. Their defense is really what kept them in the game, but then in the end kind of cost them the game.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, their defense was on fire, I think. And Justin Fields came in and did his thing, but you're right. They can't just put it all together, and they haven't been able to do that this season, obviously. And is that a coaching thing? Is that a player and talent thing?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of both.
Yeah. Welcome, Michelle. How are you, friend?
I'm doing pretty good. Finally.
Yes.
I had to go to my cell phone because my computer wasn't working right.
Oh, yeah. Well, technical difficulties are what we do around here. So that's all right. But all right. So let me ask you about Justin Fields. One of those quarterback people. You were like Lisa, you like those quarterbacks where I just dismissed them all. What is the deal with him? Do you really think that there is this hidden talent that maybe the coaching staff just can't find for him? Or is this just a kid trying to keep his job?
It's hard to say. I think it seems like he's going through some growing pains. I don't know if the offense is perfect for him. Sometimes that's usually the question about it. When you look at him coming out of college, you can see all of the talent that he had and some of the things that he can do, but it's just not working out for him in Chicago. And I don't know what the reason is. Maybe, sometimes we always say they're put into the starting position a little earlier than they maybe need to. And maybe that's the situation for him. They keep trying to change the roster. They're making these changes. They seem to be trying to make the roster better to put people around him, but it's not working. Yeah. And so, somehow there needs to be a change somewhere. And so either it's him or it's the offense or whatever it is, but they haven't quite been able to get it together. And perhaps some of that has to do with the running game. And a lot of times when you have a young quarterback, you need to have some type of running game to make it a little easier for him. Mm-hmm. And that's what's missing in Chicago. So, they've had some growing pains there. So I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is. I've seen most of their games. I just, in spurts, he looks really good. Mm-hmm. And at other times he just looks really bad. So, but that's like most of the quarterbacks.
Well, this year.
This year. Right. So, nothing for Justin. So he's fitting right in.
It's really interesting to me is we've seen certain quarterbacks, and I bring this up regularly to you, Sonja, that Jared Goff is one of them, where it's like they're a good quarterback sometimes even on a good team, but they're not great and they don't hold their own and they seem to be kind of the butt of the jokes for everything. That was Jared Goff. And then you see other, quarterbacks that Baker Mayfield, they go to a different team and they flourish, right? Mm-hmm. They just flourish. I just feel like that is who Justin Fields is going to be. I don't feel like Chicago is the place where he needs to be. But let's be honest, it's been a minute since Chicago has been able to really get anything rolling with them. So I'm really curious to see what happens with Justin Fields and see if maybe them letting him go, them starting over again, because that's what they just keep doing. and seeing if maybe under another head coach, if he can find a little bit more of a rhythm than he could in Chicago, because he is not the biggest problem in Chicago.
No.
He's not the only problem in Chicago. That is for sure. So it's really interesting. The other team we wanted to talk about is kind of doing the opposite of what Chicago is doing. The Denver Broncos. Now, I have lots of opinions on this one, so I'm going to let you guys go first because my opinions are so nice. But the Denver Broncos have won a lot of games in a row. I think what?
Five
in a row now, something?
I think 5, yeah.
And as much as I hate to give Sean Payton any credit, he seems to be getting it together a little bit there. Interesting, the games that they have won, though. There is some people that are like, oh yeah, the Denver Broncos, they're just coming alive and they're just going crazy. Well, they beat Chicago. Congratulations. So they won that one. Then they lost to the Jets and Kansas City. Then they beat Green Bay. Then they beat Kansas City, which was their Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. Holy cow. I have so many Broncos friends that are friends that are fans of the Broncos. They were like, I don't care if we win another game. They were in. Like, they loved every second of that. And then they beat a roller coaster Buffalo. And then in the last minute, with some very questionable reffing, they beat the Minnesota Vikings. What's interesting is Robert Griffin III went off on a tangent saying everyone who said Russell Wilson was done, owed him an apology. He was fantastic. And everyone threw right back at him. Look at how many times they ran that ball because that's how they won. So it's interesting. When you guys look at the Denver Broncos, do you see a team that's just on a hot streak, or are they really turning that tide there? Sonja, why don't we start with you?
I think a little bit of both. I mean,
Really?
This was like a new for everybody, new for Russell and new for Sean Payton, who had been out of coaching for a while. And I think just trying to get it all back together. And I think that's what we're seeing now, is that they are starting to put it all together. Granted, they did beat the Bears, but they took the Bears to overtime, and they did fight for that game. And they've been playing kind of in there. And yeah, the Broncos or the Bills game, it was questionable reffing, questionable stuff. But at the same time, they really did look kind of decent for a while. And so I think some of that, I mean, you've got that Cortland Sutton touchdown. That was beautiful. And so it was just kind of like, you see it starting to come back. Now, are they, they beat the Chiefs. And like you said, that's their Super Bowl. And that's great. And they aren't beating top tier teams, which again, you don't expect them to right now anyways. But I think they're I think they're getting it back together.
Mm-hmm. Michelle, I know you're a Russell Wilson fan. I know that about you. Do you think last season was all on Nathaniel Hackett, or did it just take Russ a minute to settle into a different team in a different area? What's your gut feeling on Russ right now?
Well, first I want to say I agree with Robert Griffin III, because I think that people destroyed absolutely everybody that had an opinion, had one on Russell Wilson, and it wasn't great.
Yep.
The guy is playing much better this year, and no one is willing to say that, except for Troy Aikman on the TV, and I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Because he's not Russell Wilson of the young, when he was younger or whatever, but he looks good. He looks much better. He's not reason why they're losing games, but you got to look at a team that gave up 70 points to a team. No one thought this team would even win a game.
Right.
And so the fact that they are winning and they won 5 games, and not only that, their defense is playing much better. I think that's the biggest thing. The offense looks 10 times better than they did last year. I watched the games. I'm a Russell fan. Russell looked bad last year. It wasn't all Nathaniel. It was some Russell. It was some Nathaniel, but also the receiving court, Jerry Jeudy, who still has some problems, some issues, but there are a lot of problems there. And I think that Sean Payton has come in. They have a better offense. He's using Russell in the way that Russell can be used. Russell has lost weight. He's moving a little better, which he needs to, because the line is not great. And he's at times he's creating the Russell magic, the things that you saw him do in Seattle, the things where he extends plays, where he drives defensive lines crazy because he is moving around in the pocket to try to give his receivers time to get open. And thank God for him, for Cortland Sutton, because he's the person who's been the one to step up.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be Jerry Jeudy, but it's been him the whole time. And even a little bit last year near the end of the season, that's when they started gelling. It wasn't quite this year, but last year is when they started getting in rhythm with each other. And you can see that happening as they got to the last 5 games of the season. You can see Russell finally settling in with his receiving core and getting on the same. Plus, they're running the ball a lot better with Williams. And so you put all of that in together, and the defense playing better, they look better. Yes, they beat the teams that are bad, but you have to beat who's on
They
your
beat the
schedule.
Chiefs, right?
It's not their fault. They have nothing to do with the schedule. They just have to beat the people. You have to beat the people that's on your schedule. And if the teams are bad, I mean, we thought they were bad. So you got to beat who's in front of you, and beat the teams you're supposed to beat. That's as simple as that. That's what I say about my Cowboys. We lose the teams we're not supposed to lose to. So you got to beat the teams you have to beat. So
right. So Peter in comments says it's not college. A win's a win in the NFL, regardless of how ugly it is. And that is 100% true. Doesn't matter the team, doesn't matter how ugly, doesn't matter any of that. A win is a win. It's not like you're wanting a committee to like you to get into the playoffs, right? It's just a win and you're in. So here's my issue with it. I have no issue with Russell Wilson. He was a fantastic quarterback for Seattle. We got great draft picks out of that trade, and I wish him nothing but absolutely the best. He will be a Hall of Famer at some point. So I have no ill will there. And I do watch, and I see that he's starting to look a little more like himself. I went to the Thursday night Chiefs Broncos game when it was here in Kansas City. I went with a bunch of people from work, and I even found myself cheering for him a little bit. I'm like, oh, nice job, Russ. And then I'm like, what am I doing? Wait, hold on. But yeah, no, it was good. So I still have that love for Russell Wilson in my heart. But the person I don't have love for is Sean Payton. I think he's dirty, dirty, dirty coach. And I've never liked him. And I think he got suspended for a reason. I just can't stand Sean Payton. So to have now one of his players suspended for dirty hits left and right, I'm like, Sean Payton, that's just par for the course when he's your coach. I was like, is it Jackson that got suspended? Yeah, I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? Now, I will say some of those hits that they're holding against him are a little iffy, but at the same time, it just fit the narrative way too easily. I just didn't like it. So while I'm great with Denver getting better and starting to be competitive, and that division being a little more competitive, and the Chiefs and then nobody, kind of like it was with the Patriots and the rest of that division for so long. It's nice to see a little competition there. It's nice to see that. So I'm excited for them for that. But do I ever want Sean Payton to win? Heck no.
Well, it's hard to cheer for Sean, so I get that. Trust me, I do.
Don't like it. Yeah. It makes my face do this. I don't like it. All right, let's move on to these Thanksgiving games. This is why I wanted you guys both here. So there's this great tradition. I just did the podcast for NFL UK people on Monday, and we were talking about the Thanksgiving tradition of football and how the football fans over there are starting to celebrate Thanksgiving just for football, which I think is hilarious, which is real fun. But we were talking about the great tradition of the Cowboys always play, the Lions always play, and how it's so fun. And Sonja, you and I have talked about this before. There's a huge parade in Detroit and everyone goes. Before we get into the games, Sonja, tell me a little bit about that Lions tradition and why it's so important to that town.
It's basically our way of just like showing off for the world, essentially, or at least the country. And
no, it's the world now. They all watch
the world now. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's just our way of showing off for the world. And a lot of people have always given Detroit a hard time, and that it's like Beirut and all this other stuff, but it's not. It's just. It's alive and it's come back, and people, we hosted a Super Bowl. We've done a lot there in Detroit, and I think it's just basically our time to shine, and that's why people love it so much. Just getting Detroit love is the best. It's absolutely great. And so, yeah, we start off the morning Some people will do the turkey trot because there is a turkey trot that morning. And then there's also the parade, the big fat parade that we all love. And now it ends like right by the stadium. And then you just walk right over. And since they've redesigned downtown, it just makes it so much easier and nicer. So yeah, so it's really cool. Everybody loves it.
So much fun. Now, still speaking of the Lions, 8-2 for the first time since the 1960s. I'm pretty sure hell froze over somewhere because that just doesn't happen for Detroit. How crazy is that? First of all, to think that those Matt Stafford Megatron years, you never got to 8-2, which is crazy to me. And then to finally get there with Jared Goff, I still
can't fathom it, but hey, it's a combination of Goff. I think it's a combination of Campbell, and just literally we've seen a culture change in front of our face, and that's been pretty 100%. Sweet to watch and witness. And I'm super excited about that 8-2. And you know, people are starting to post pics like, oh my gosh, they're talking about playoff tickets now. So it's like what? Exciting. Everybody's loving it. So yeah, it's great.
So looking ahead, this Thanksgiving game, they are playing the Green Bay Packers, divisional games. All of these games on Thanksgiving are divisional games. And so the Packers, obviously not the Packers of old, right? Not the Detroit Lions of old. You got not the Packers of old, but a team that's still, it's a divisional game, and divisional games are weird. They know teams know each other well. What are your expectations for this game? What are you thinking you'll see?
I'm thinking we're going to see kind of like the like the Bears game. I think that each other hard. I think that, you know, Jordan Love is getting much more comfortable, and he's improved a little bit. That team's improved a little bit. I think, like I talked last night on a podcast about it, and I was like, you know, I think if our offensive line is our offensive line, that it'll be good, but it's going to be controlling that. And their defensive line, like Rashawn Gary, is a good guy. He's a very good guy, and he's a beast. And I think that he's going to be one to watch out for on the Packers. But I'm expecting this to be a tight game. And just, you know, the Packers just bringing it because it's a divisional game. And like you said, they've been kind of weird this year. I think that they're going to play each other pretty hard.
Right. Oh, they absolutely are. So Jordan Love right now is sitting at 59.7% completion, 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He's been sacked 22 times, this poor kid. Oh my God. The Packers are kind of a mess. So I can't imagine that Detroit would have too terrible of a time. But like you just said, these divisional games are dumb. Like they don't make any sense. That's just the way it works. It's just so strange. But it is a beautiful tradition of a game. I'm really excited about that. So I want to talk about the next game. We don't have to talk about the third game at all. We don't need to discuss that night game at all. No, but let's talk about this Dallas Cowboys game. Another great tradition. There is another divisional game. The Commanders at the Dallas Cowboys. Have the Cowboys always, I mean, it's gone like clear back to the 70s that the Cowboys were playing on things like from the beginning. Is that right, Michelle? They've always played on Thanksgiving.
As far as I know, it's been quite some time. It's been a long time. I think we played 80s, like 55, 56 games or so on Thanksgiving. Yeah. So that's what, 50-some years, So,
yeah, Jerry's got to have a spotlight. We know how that is.
Yeah, you know, even before Jerry, but
even for sure. So looking at this game, like Sonja was just saying about the Green Bay Detroit game, the Commanders are kind of an upstart plucky team. Like they have their moments where they look good. Sam Howell has actually played very well this year. And then they have their moments like last week where they're just like, oh, we didn't want to play football this week. We're just going to sit here. So talk about this kind of matchup. What do you see happening in this game? Do you think Dallas is going to roll them?
Are you asking me?
I am, darling. You're my Dallas girl. You know.
Listen. The last time we played Washington on Thanksgiving, they railroaded us. I mean, they whooped us in 2020. So, and again, I just mentioned how Dallas lose games that they're supposed to win. But one thing I know about Washington, I always go back to 1989 when we were 1-15. That's the team we lost to. So, when you talk about a team playing for the Super Bowl, Washington fans would be happy just to win this game. They win this game, this is it. So we know that they're going to bring it. It's just a matter of whether Dallas is going to be ready and not play down to their competition, because we do that sometimes. But Washington is coming. This is not going to be an easy game for Dallas. You know, playing on Thanksgiving. I don't know what Dakota's record is on Thanksgiving, but I just remember we lost to Washington, we lost to the Panthers. All I remember, and I'm just remembering losses now. So, and it seems like those have happened quite frequently in the last 10 years or so. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a great game. All I can think about with Detroit playing Green Bay and Dallas playing Washington is John Madden and Pat Summerall, because they would love these two matchups. Actually, they would love all three matchups, but just those two games alone, I could just see them and hear their broadcast and how, and or if it was like the Bears in Detroit or somebody, but they would love this matchup. And so these are perfect for Thanksgiving. These are the matchups that you want to see, the games that, records don't matter because it's a division game and because it is. And so that's the thing about when we play Washington, records usually don't matter because they're going to play us tough. And we know that. So we have to be ready.
We have talked a lot on the show this season, Michelle, about how Dallas has been a lot like Buffalo, where they're a little bit of a roller coaster team. Not as bad as Buffalo has gotten, because they right now, you never know what you're going to get with that team. But Dallas, and they did start out that way, where they were just hot and cold, then hot, then cold. And there's a lot of conversation around Dak right now. And if he is the guy that can take them to the Super Bowl, and if he can get them there, where are your thoughts with how he sits with the team right now?
I think that one thing about Dak, he's always going to be positive and he's always going to come out and say the right things. I'm hard on him, as you guys know. I'm very hard on him because, I'm just hard on the quarterbacks, period. But I'm hard on Dakota because of the team that he's had around him since he's been there. And so he's been in a better position than the previous quarterback to be successful based on what we have. We have a line, we have receivers, we have running game. We've had all of that. Now we have a defense that is playing lights out. And so this is the time. This is his time. Last year was his time. This is his time. So these years he has to take advantage of what he has and what he has right now. Because we know in today's free agent world, it doesn't last long. You don't have a long time to get your team together and win. And so he has the tools there. And I can see over the last 4 games, maybe last 5 games, a difference in how he's been playing. Okay. If you recall the last time I was on here, I talked about how he has he doesn't extend the plays. He doesn't use his legs when we need him to use them. Well, that's exactly what he's been doing since I was on here. He's been extending he listened. He had to. He's been he's been extending the plays. He's been moving around in the pocket to give his receivers time to throw the ball, and he's run when he needs to run. I don't want him to be Lamar Jackson. I don't want him to be a running quarterback, but I want him to pick up yards when we need yards. I want him to pick up a first down when there's a clear path for him to run. And he's been doing that the last 5 games, and that is what I've seen some growth. So obviously someone else has been talking to him about that. Yeah. And that is because I think that was the thing that was missing in his game. He can throw the ball, and I think I mentioned that the last time. I thought that Mike McCarthy's play calling was making him look worse than what he is. He can throw the ball. He's proven that. He can get the ball down the field. What he couldn't do is read the pocket and move around to give his people time to get open and use his legs when he needs to. And I think he's been a smarter quarterback the last few years. Now, he'll come out Thursday and disappoint me and go back and do everything that he used to do. But I'm hoping that, and because the interceptions don't bother me. It never has, because you can throw 3 interceptions. He's only
thrown 6 this year, which isn't
bad. Correct. And but he plays for the Cowboys, so whatever he's thrown, it's always going to seem like it's more than what it is. Because they used to do that with Romo. Romo had 10 interceptions one year, but he threw 4 in one game or 5 in one game, and so people made it like he had 25 interceptions. I'm like, he had 10. So he threw 5 in one game, and the rest of the season he had 5. Yeah. So But yeah, so that's what I see in Dak. So this is the team. I think that you don't have to have a strong quarterback to win the Super Bowl. What you need is to be able to run the ball. You need to play defense. And I think our defense makes plays. You know that I believe that defense wins championships, and offense might get you there. But
Yeah.
you're gonna have to stop somebody to win the game. And if you go back to that Super Bowl with Philadelphia and the Patriots, the game was won on defensive play. Someone had to make a stop.
Yep.
You have to, because so that's what I believe, and I think Dallas has all of the twos. The problem is Philadelphia has more than they have,
Yeah.
and so I don't know if they'll be able to get over that hump, because I think that Philadelphia, as bad as Jalen will look during the game, Jalen Hurts, if the game is close, he knows how to make the plays at the end to win the game, and that's what you need.
So Camden put in comments, why isn't Pollard that guy this year?
I don't think that Mike McCarthy is utilizing Pollard in the same manner that the previous offensive coordinator, who I did not like, he is not using him in that same manner. Now, Emmitt Smith spoke about that, and I agree with Emmitt. It's in the way that they're using him. Sometimes he's barely on the field, like he's barely there. And I mean, he's a great receiver out of the backfield. They don't throw the ball to him. He's not involved in the offense. It's just like he's just there when they decide they want to run every blue moon. But they're not utilizing him in the same manner. And people will say it's because he split time with Ezekiel. I don't think that is the case. I think that when he came in the game, the same plays were run. But he was able to get more yards. They're just not utilizing him in the same way. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
I would like to see more of him, actually.
So, yeah, we could literally talk about Dallas all day because they're fascinating to me. I don't think Mike McCarthy's the guy. I think Dak is the guy. There's a whole thing there, but so we'll have to have Michelle on.
He's not my favorite. Mike is not my favorite.
No, not my favorite either. There is still one more game to talk about. I don't even want to talk about this, but Thanksgiving night, God help us. The Seattle Seahawks play the San Francisco 49ers in Seattle. Everyone who knows me knows that I do not watch the 49ers games live. I just don't. They're too stressful to me. Ever since the Super Bowl year, they were both so good with Kaepernick and Wilson. Those teams were both so good. Couldn't watch them.
That was some good ones.
Oh my gosh, those were good. And so I can't watch them. They're way too stressful. And so I don't watch them. So I'm skipping it. So that's fine with me. But interestingly enough, another divisional game. The funny thing about the NFC West is that there is this very odd thing that happens in the NFC West. The Rams always beat Seattle. Seattle always beats San Francisco. San Francisco always beats the Rams. It's this little rock, paper, scissors thing. Now, Niners fans would like to change that to Russell Wilson used to beat them all the time, and now we don't because they did not win last year. That's fine. It wasn't as good, but we had to play them 3 times. But it's been an interesting thing. So I always think that game is just going to be a toss-up, and we'll see what happens. God knows.
Well, this is a big game for you guys because one game away, and Seattle, you can pull this off, and I think that it's there.
Yeah, the interesting thing. So Kristen is in there and she says, what's the main thing the Hawks need to do to win? I don't even know. There's so many things, Kristen. There's like 10 things that they need to do to win. But I will tell you, this is what I think. I think that Geno needs to be Geno of the beginning of last year. But he's injured. So I'm not sure that that's what we're going to get. So what do you need then? You need your running game to be super strong. You need Abe Lucas back. Fingers crossed. I don't think that's going to happen. The offensive lineman. And then you need that defense to play lights out. And not because Brock Purdy is so fantastic, because of Christian McCaffrey. You have to figure out how to contain him. Go ahead, Michelle.
That's what I was going to say. I was disagreeing with you. I was like, the defense has to figure out how to stop Christian McCaffrey, because what I've learned is when Brock Purdy, when you take Christian out of it, that's when they struggle. That's when he struggles, because that's been the savior. I think Debo probably not being there has something to do with it too. But Christian McCaffrey is the key. You have to take him away, and if you take him away and just make it all about Brock, you have a chance.
We'll see. It could be interesting. And you never know, because out of nowhere, San Francisco could play like they did a few games ago and Seattle could play fantastically, or it could end up the Baltimore game all over again. So who knows what's going to happen? This is why I don't watch it live. But Camden has a really good point. whoever plays the soundest football wins because it's a short week.
Very
and that often is the
Very
case
true.
for sure. The NFL has decided to throw in a weird random Black Friday game because
Look at
why
that.
not? You know what it is? It all comes down to greed, and I'm just going to say it because the Thursday night game was taken away from Amazon, so they had to promise them another way to get another game, and so they gave them a Friday game, which is okay. But it's going to be the Dolphins and the Jets. It is at 2:00 in the afternoon on Black Friday, which I find very interesting. Because Lisa's not here, Sonja, I'm going to ask you about this game a little bit. Do the Jets, Dolphins are a little hot and cold right now. They're not playing perfect football, but they have a tendency to murder those under 500 teams.
They do. They do have a tendency to murder those under 500 teams. And I think the Dolphins right now are just kind of, they're playing good ball. They're playing loose.
Mm-hmm.
They're having fun. And I think they're embracing it. So I see them kind of doing a number to a Jets team that really is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, they're going to make a statement. Niles agrees. And I think that I don't think the Jets are going to have too much of a chance. It is another divisional game, but it's a weird schedule. I'm going with the Dolphins all the way.
Random Friday.
Right.
The Jets. The Jets are a disaster. And Aaron Rodgers should not come back. It would be stupid. They're not making the playoffs. Why would you come back and risk that injury? I don't understand. So I'm really hoping for Aaron Rodgers' sake he doesn't come back, which we have talked about a million times on here. But this game on a random Friday afternoon is just a little bizarre to me, but I guess it gives these teams a chance for a little bit longer break, I guess. I don't know.
Miami Dolphins. Dolphins.
They're playing well. And look,
Miami Dolphins number 1.
It's interesting to me. You guys go look at the AFC standings. How many teams are at 7-3? I think there's like 5 of them. It's really interesting in the AFC right now, the Baltimore Ravens sitting on top. So it is interesting for sure. Okay, everybody, I have to show you guys what Camden wrote in chat. It's like Cyber Monday morning football on Paramount Plus.
Yes. My God.
It's so true.
Don't do that.
All right, everyone. Well, we are over time, so we have to go. But Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. I just love having you on here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It makes me so happy. And we will be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube. If you guys watched over on Twitter or on Facebook, please come over to the YouTube channel. Then you can join the chat and you can chit chat with us back and forth. We post your comments on the air and we really love that. So come and check us out over here on YouTube. And if you haven't yet, please give the show a like and subscribe so you can always get notification when we go live. So like Camden did today, she can be like, oh my God, it's Tuesday, and shows up and we love it. Thank you, Camden, so much. So, all right, everyone, we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.